Bye.
See you all at 1:30.
Okay. Amanda, I'll send this to you in a minute.
Hi, I'm trying to finish up my critiques from the third round of the Eastridge tournament. So got my ballot in. The advantage, if there is one, to judging online is because I can turn in my ballot once I want to know what I do, and then I can go back and finish the critiques. So anyway, I will mute myself again, but
They've got to turn off the TV.
I have to turn it off.
Yes. They can hear it.
I think my clock's showing 1:30. Jerry, if yours is showing the same, do you want to get started?
Yes, it is. Greetings and welcome to the 2021 Minnesota State High School League Class AA Virtual State One Act Play Festival. I'm Jerry Girton, Minnesota State High School League One Act Play clinician. Congratulations to all the participants in today's festival. Remember that these 15 plays are a small fraction of all the wonderful One Act plays produced in high schools throughout the state of Minnesota. Many may be disappointed to not advance as far as these shows, but all should be very proud of the accomplishments. Many thought virtual One Act Play contests would never work, but you have made it happen. You have made it work, and all involved should be very proud. First, I'd like to introduce Seal McDonald, One Act Play, Speech, and Debate Representative on the MSHSL Board of Directors. Ms. McDonald.
Hello, it is an honor to be here today and to congratulate you on advancing to the state one act competition, and to those that win the awards. That's wonderful, and I congratulate you on that too. But I think just being able to do a one act under the conditions that we have, as Mr. Girton referred to, is of and by itself a remarkable achievement. And I truly, truly congratulate you for that. All right.
Thank you. The successful one-act play activity involved many individuals to make it happen. Here are a few. Amanda Johnson, Minnesota State High School League Administrative Assistant. Amy Doherty, Minnesota State High School League Assistant Director. The judges for this AA contest: Forrest Musselman, Roberta Freeman, and Liz Gray Larson. Critic for the 2021 festival, Mike Tillman. Mr. Tillman will present an overview of the reactions and comments of the judges. Now we would like to recognize the plays representing the Class AA sections. After each production is recognized, we will hear from the critic. After all the sections are recognized, the star performances will be announced. Representing Section 1AA, Rochester Mayo High School, the production, Gossip Virtual Edition. Director, Kim Hill. Mike?
Gossip is a modern morality play, and those of you who are familiar well with the history of the theater know that in the Middle Ages, it was quite common to have a central character such as Everyman represent the collective humanity and a chorus of evil and conniving and corruption surrounding him. This particular script is especially exciting because it reverses that. Gossip is, of course, a central character, but we have a chorus of high school students who in fact demonstrate to us that gossip in and of itself can be destructive. And it keeps reminding us the moral of the play that gossip is not real. The play presents to us a series of challenges. First of all, playing high school students in and of themselves is a challenge to keep it realistic and to keep it interesting. But these characters are particularly interesting. We have characters such as Candy and Cain, the twins who were born at Christmas. Cain put it well when he said our parents were idiots. And they present two central male characters, Alex and Tim, along with Gossip herself, the evil and conniving woman who comes to this school and then eventually simply moves on. If you saw this production, you would be very impressed by the acting and the reacting of the characters in general, both the realistic characters and of course the archetypal evil Gossip herself. You'd be impressed with the makeup and the costumes, and particularly the otherworldliness of Gossip's lipstick and makeup. Now, if we were to look at the play for things that our judges might suggest, because they're such monolithic characters, you might want to find even more ways to give variety to them, and even more ways to emphasize the unreal nature of the character of Gossip, though certainly all of those have a good foundation in this production. Be careful that character freezings, as you do them, are consistent throughout the play, and that changing costumes is kept consistent as well. We are very, very pleased to have seen this production. We congratulate Rochester Mayo, and they're reminding us that we are all victims of gossip.
Thank you, Mike. Representing Section 2AA, Prior Lake High School. The production, Hellhound. The director, Philip Hawks. Assistant director, Dave Tuma. Mike?
Hellhound, as presented to us by Prior Lake, is really a combination of teenager adventure and Greek mythology. We're introduced once again to the river Styx and to that unusual character, Cerberus, who in fact is a three-headed monster portrayed very effectively with costumes and makeup, and of course, particularly with puppets in this production. We were particularly impressed with the cartoon tents and settings and projections that bring us through not only the real world of teenagers, but the very unreal world of the river Styx and of course, Hades. This is a great fun production and we were very pleased to see it. Be very careful that you watch articulation as you do the play. And because the play has so many scenes, you might work even on giving greater finality to each of those scenes. Avoid profiling, which I know is very difficult when you're trying to project on tape. But we were very, very impressed with the costumes, the makeup, the lighting, and all of the effects that went into this wonderful production of Hellhound.
Thank you, Mike. Section 3AA had no entry. Section 4AA, represented by Irondale High School in New Brighton. The production, Virtual Whodunit. Director, Janet Paone. Assistant directors, Alec Cummings and Sophia Haugen. Sorry. Mike?
In a Virtual Whodunit, which Irondale presented to us so effectively, we have the traditional vintage whodunit story and the detective story in a great parody format. There were delightfully varied characterizations, and they used a contrast of the black and white of the detective and the color framing of the characters and the suspects to in fact make the play all the more interesting visually. They had tremendous use of backgrounds and excellent costumes. And that electrocution scene where the central character, the millionaire, is in fact electrocuted with his own cell phone was a delight to watch, frightening though it was. You might even push the noir endings farther as you go parodying this even more, as you rehearse more. You had great strong energy in the production. Be careful that you keep maintaining and building it, particularly as you work through this production. We were very impressed. And once again, we were treated well to a virtual whodunit.
Thank you. Section 5AA, represented by St. Michael Albertville High School. The production, back cover. Directors, Joshua Mann and Joseph Seminiak. Mike?
In this particular play, which we would classify as a Bildungsroman, that is a play of character development and of coming of age, we're given an interesting chronological study from the narrator's personal moving to New York City because her parents are divorced, to her daughter's reaction, and in fact, ultimately to that daughter's reaction. And we have both a narrative and a present day character wrapped up but played by two different actresses. We are reminded constantly as we're taken through a variety of memories, including the 9/11 attacks on New York City, that just as the back cover of a book cannot summarize the entire story. Neither can we understand reality without having read the entirety of reality or the book it comes from. What a sensitive portrayal of personal and universal history. And we were particularly pleased with the piano music transitions used and the characterizations that were so strongly and consistently played. Excellent use of multiple time frames, and particularly emphasizing that we grow up as we experience the reality that we're born into and that surrounds us throughout our lives. If we were to continue working on the play, we might characterize those time differences even more strongly, perhaps by some costume or prop changes. And we might work a bit on vocal clarity, though it's generally very strong. Please realize when I'm talking about suggestions that the judges made, that these are rather minor things in very strong productions. And Back Cover was certainly no exception.
Thank you. Representing Section 6AA, Academy of Holy Angels in Richfield. The production, Waiting for the Parade. Director, Greg Sawyer and Dan Diamond. Assistant Director, Elizabeth Kranz. Mike?
This is a most fascinating script. It's one I didn't know before, and I was most interested to read about it and then to see the Academy of Holy Angels production. The play presents to us a virtual shadow box of humanity. Women who are, in fact, during the war, waiting for their husbands, their loved ones, or their neighbors to come home as they wait for that literal parade. The vintage opening and the incidental music are beautifully done, and you have distinct and relatable characters. We wanted to note that Catherine is remarkably natural and that the costumes and backdrops for the entire production evoke a vintage feel and transport us nicely to another time and another world that most of us have experienced. Lovely costumes, excellent makeup and hairstyles and props. If we were to work on this further, the judges suggested that you might consider not allowing the end to be quite so abrupt. It leaves us without a sense of resolution, even though, in fact, we know historically what's happening. The use of drinking glasses and drinking, though you're not allowed to have liquids, is particularly challenging in the one-act play contest. And when you're doing that, we'll accept the pantomime because we all know the rules. Be careful that you also pantomime the swallowing. Maybe not having clear glasses would have helped. Finally, we thought perhaps making more of Margaret's heart issue would have allowed us not to have that come upon us so abruptly. It was a sad time. This is a wonderful study of personal and cultural history. And we are left with a wonderful moral. May we not write our final letters with the wrong end of the pencil, with the eraser instead of the lead. Again, we commend the Academy of Holy Angels for a fine production of Waiting for the Parade.
Thank you. Representing Section 7AA, North Branch Area High School. The production, Fighting Demons. Director, Laura Michaels. Choreographer, Emily Erickson.
Fighting Demons is a most interesting play because it's a social drama that attempts to reflect how we might all deal with our personal demons, whether that's bulimia or drug abuse or simply the sad and unfortunate things that happen in our lives that cause us to be depressed or unhappy or at least out of sorts. This play has a lovely use of choreography, and the costumes and makeup are incredibly effective. I know many of you haven't had the chance to see this particular production, but there's a great deal of modern dance and a very colorful opening that sets us up and prepares us for the many, many scenes that we're to see and the many relatable experiences that we're to experience with the characters. There's a panorama of issues here, and they're handled with great sensitivity. The language collages in this, the overlay of language among the characters is handled particularly well. Now, we will admit that at the very opening, we were a little confused about the choreography, not because the dance wasn't beautifully done, but because there wasn't quite a context for it yet. And that might have been evoked a bit more by sound or by a more ominous sense of what we were to experience. Be careful that you don't upstage each other, that is, cause characters to turn their backs on the audience so that we don't get that full facial expression that you use so well. Finally, there was some confusion at points with some of the judges about whether the characters were actually to be feeling the pain contemporaneously, that is, in the moment, or whether they were simply narrating about the kind of experience and pain. And that blend of storytelling and experiencing is a very difficult one to circumnavigate. But we were certainly impressed with the production, the dance, and the visuals in North Branch areas fighting demons.
Thank you. Representing Section 8AA, Alexandria Area High School. The production, Machinal. The director, Jessica Chipman. The assistant director, Georgia Snyder. Mike?
Machinal. Once again, a play I didn't know, and thank you for introducing it to us. This is actually an example of 1928 American Expressionism. And those of you who studied theatrical literature can attest that American Expressionism is quite different from European. We tend to root our studies and those things we're distorting about reality in a much more realistic kind of setting. What we have here is based on a real story. Ruth Snyder, who was put to death for killing her husband with the help of her lover. But Machinal is not simply a murder mystery or a murder story. In fact, there's no mystery at all. What happens is, in fact, we study the life of misogyny, the life of discrimination, the life of oppression that a young woman, Ruth, has experienced all of her life and continues to experience after her marriage. We were particularly stricken by the maturity and the skill demonstrated. And in fact, we were led to wonder if this play didn't particularly benefit from the virtual format that the director chose, obviously, to make the most of a year in which we had to be virtual. It's hard to imagine that those wonderful window scenes and the wonderful collage of people that could be presented around the central character and the oppression that they, in fact, visited on her consistently weren't, in fact, more effective because of this. Particularly note needs to be made of the clutching, the grasping of a young woman in an almost absurd modern dance transitions between scenes as she's grasping at a very transparent drape. And again, we see that she's moved to her own destruction by others and ultimately by herself. What an effective use of split screen techniques and stylized, silhouetted, tortured ballet by the central character. We were impressed by the hairstyles and the costuming, and you might consider aging the appearance of the mother even a little more. But the pictures of the windows and that striking use of visuals and black and white was particularly effective. Finally, the world of the late 1920s was evoked incredibly nicely, and the interplay of stark reality and oppressive motives is so strongly, in fact, played and reacted to that we commend strongly the Alexandria area troupe for their very interesting production of Sophie Treadwell's Machina.
Thank you. Congratulations to all of the AA state participants. How about a round of applause, even though we can't hear you? Yes, congratulations. I can hear it, it's big. At this time, we would like to present the Wells Fargo Spotlight on the Arts Awards of Excellence. This awards program recognizes students for outstanding achievement in debate, speech, one-act play, music, and visual arts. It is an example of the commitment of Wells Fargo and the Minnesota State High School League to recognize the many and varied achievements of high school students. Each cast member and crew member of schools earning a starred performance rating will receive the Spotlight on the Arts Award of Excellence. All awards will be mailed directly to your schools. To receive a starred performance, a production must receive at least 2 stars from 3 judges. This year, our judges determined that even among these state quality plays, 2 stand out for their exceptional quality. In no particular order. I've always wanted to say that. So, in no particular order. The first starred performance, representing Section 8AA, Alexandria Area High School. The production, Machina. The director, Jessica Chipman. Assistant director, Georgia Snyder. Applause, 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 applause. Congratulations. The second starred performance, representing Section 5AA, St. Michael Albertville High School. The production, Back Cover. Directors, Joshua Mann and Joseph Seminiak. Applause. 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 Thank you. Thank you all for attending the virtual awards ceremony. Thank you especially to the Minnesota State High School League, especially Amy and Amanda, for making this one-act play season and festival happen. To the directors for boldly and creatively leading the students into uncharted territory. To all the schools and the parents for letting theater education thrive in what we hear so often these challenging times. And especially thank you to the students for being safe, masked, and socially distanced, and for not letting anything diminish your love of theater. Goodbye, and see you next year on stage.
So the next one isn't until 3 o'clock for single A?
Correct.
Okay,
You are correct. We're gonna keep the live stream open
okay,
so that we were just able to provide one link out to everybody. So it's actually open and running right now. So
Okay.
you can provide entertainment for those out there, or we'll see you back at 3 o'clock.
all right, thank you.
Anything you want different next round, Amy?
I don't think so, but we can text.
Alrighty.
Sounds good.
Nice work, folks.
Thank you. You too.
I said, you guys did all the work. I was just kind of here. But it's nice to be here, so. Anyway.
Jerry, my clock shows 3. If yours says 2, I think we can get started once again.
Mine does. Greetings and welcome to the 2021 Minnesota State High School League Class A Virtual State One Act Play Festival. I'm Jerry Gerton, Minnesota State High School League One Act Play clinician. Congratulations to all of the participants in today's festival. Remember that these 15 plays are a small fraction of all of the wonderful one-act plays produced in the high schools throughout the state. Many may be disappointed to not advance as far as these shows, but all should be proud, very proud of the accomplishments. Many thought virtual one-act play contests would never work. You've made it happen, you've made it work, and all involved should be very proud. First, I'd like to introduce Zeal McDonald, one-act play, speech, and debate representative on the Minnesota State High School League Board of Directors. Mrs. McDonald?
Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Gerton. It is an honor to be here this afternoon to congratulate all of you for, as Mr. Gerton already said, this amazing accomplishment of keeping theater going and thriving in the midst of all the roadblocks that we have this year with the pandemic. I am so amazed by what you have been able to accomplish, and it is an honor to be here to recognize your efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. The successful one-act play activity involved many individuals to make it happen. Here are a few. Amanda Johnson, Minnesota State High School League Administrative Assistant. Amy Doherty, Minnesota State High School League Assistant Director. The judges for Class A, Ben Bakken Valentine, Jessica Chipman, Anjanette Krause. Critic for the 2021 festival is Mike Tillman. Mr. Tillman will present an overview of the reactions and comments of the judges. Now, we would like to recognize the plays representing the 8 Class A sections. After each production is recognized, we will hear from the critic. After all the sections are recognized, the star performances will be announced. Directors, your critiques will be sent to you sometime around 15 minutes after the festival concludes. Representing Section 1A, Fillmore Central High School in Harmony, the production, Jack in the Box. The director, Jackie Whitaker. Mike?
Jack in the Box is the most unusual play because it brings us to a study of, in many ways, ourselves and our own subconsciouses and our own concerns for what we might be and for what we might have been. In this particular production, we were incredibly impressed with the lovely sense of chaos in the sound and the setting at the opening. And it's mysterious because at first we think, all right, exactly where are we and what is this? Until we come to realize that Jared, the central character, is confronting himself and his own life. What beautiful blocking In a time of so many virtuous but virtual productions, seeing real blocking that in fact moved us and moved the characters across the stage was wonderful. Lovely use of music, a tremendously talented ensemble here, and particularly we were impressed with the strong characterizations and the fact that the two male lead characters interacted so honestly and so completely and so believably for us. If we were to look at things that we might change or might work on for future productions or performances of this play, we might look at defining the level of maturity. Exactly what age is Jared? We were somewhat unclear about that, although we know he's young. Watch your vocal clarity, particularly articulation. Make sure words and sounds are very crisp and clear. Sometimes the line delivery got just a little quick. And if we can watch moderating that pace so that in fact we follow every word, we hear every word, and we understand every word, life would be even stronger. And finally, the end of the play seemed to wrap up very abruptly and very quickly, give us a little more time to enjoy it. Now, as you will hear through all of the plays, the things I'm talking about for future improvement are admittedly picky. We have a kaleidoscope of wonderful productions, and certainly not the least of them is Jack in the Box. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Representing Section 2A, Belle Plaine High School. The production, The Amish Project Ensemble. Directors, Tony Hartman and Kelly Morrison Fox. Mike?
The Amish Project, first of all, originally was a one-woman show, and it was rewritten into an ensemble version, which I think has only strengthened it. As is clear from the picture on the screen, this production has a wonderful set of costumes, wonderful technical background. Your setting, your props are all very thoroughly appropriate and yet never distracting. We always focus on the human beings involved. From the very first singing of When I Went Down to the River to Pray, to the very final moment of forgiveness and understanding, we're presented a play in which the very unique Amish background is studied, although this is a fictional story, and the horror of a school murder is contrasted with the amazing sense of forgiveness and enlightenment of the characters and the people. Even the evil character who committed the crime is not only recognizable to us, he in fact is the object of our forgiveness. The lighting is used terribly effectively. There's an amazing attention to detail, and there's a wonderful sense of staging and ensemble in this group. We were very impressed with the ability of the group not only to project the messages of the play, but to project the intense silence that sometimes brings us to emotions that, as Wordsworth once wrote, lie too deep for tears. The use of the lines and the music bring us clearly to a sense that the Amish Project is not just a project. It's a study in humanity and in our capacity to forgive. And we salute the cast and ensemble who brought this production to us. Thank you for the Amish Project.
Thank you, Mike. Section 3A is represented by Central Minnesota Christian, Princeburg. The production, Unsound Effects. Directors, Kevin Wassenaar and Randy Groen. Mike?
First of all, when you take on radio theater and stage it so that we are in fact seeing the radio theater live, as it were, you take on a tremendous sense of cacophony and chaos and activity. And we were very impressed with the number of technical elements that blended together between the props and the stage gags and the number of exits and entrances that you manipulated. You have striking individual performances here, but it all comes together with a sense of ensemble that we are delighted with. We were impressed with the great pacing throughout the work. If we were to look at it further, we might look at developing unique characteristics for each of the characters even more to lift up the piece beyond the stereotypical humor that obviously it brings to us well. Be careful that you find the truth in every situation, even if it's comic, even if it's parody, even if it's absurd. Perhaps be wary of your straining your voices just a little. When you're trying to do some frenetic staging, it's easy to let the voice become a bit uncontrolled. But by and large, and for the most part, we were impressed with the golden age of radio, Polly in peril, and unsound effects.
Thank you, Mike. Representing Section 4A, Howard Lake Waverly Winstead. The production, Tuna Fish Eulogy. The director, Brenda Larson. Assistant director, Kelly Sale. Mike?
Whenever we take on in the theater an untimely death of any sort, we in fact have many questions to answer. And this particular play answers them most interestingly. It's a very, very challenging piece in which we look at who's at fault, how might life have treated the character differently, and how do people interact? This play is described as having been written in a ladder style. That is, the characters' language builds one on another, even though they're independent lines. There's a sense that we are walking up to a final understanding. You have a lovely use of music in this play and wonderful vocal quality that almost makes the play melodic, even with the very serious and unhappy situations it's addressing. We were very impressed with the commitment to overlapping lines and the language that, in fact, brings together a collage not only of people, but of their thoughts and of their reactions. Now, be cautious, even in this time of masks and social distancing, that you're using a bit more space. It seemed very confined. And work for every nuance you can bring out of every character. Stage pictures aren't as varied as they might be, although once again, the stage itself and the visual effect is clear, but we always want to get even better with those things. And it seems to us that a stronger physical commitment to widening, broadening, and varying our reactions would make this very strong production even stronger. Tuna Fish Eulogy, what a title and what a performance.
Thank you, Mike. Representing Section 5A, Malacca High School. The production, The 39 Steps, a live radio play. Director, Audrey French. Assistant Director, Tyler Haugen. Mike?
Inspired, of course, by none other than Alfred Hitchcock, This story, this mystery thriller, has an added dimension in this production because, of course, the director and the company have put it into a live radio play format. So we watch both of those conventions, the mystery and the radio play, conjoin, intersect, as it were. And there's tremendous energy and a strong set of unique characters here. We were impressed with the fine vintage costumes and the sense that we were in good hands, that this cast knew the conventions and were going to play them strongly. And the pace was particularly impressive. Now, keep that energy level high and building. It's hard when you start so strongly not to relatively become static, even though it's high. You want to keep the play building. We would also have loved to see all of the characters have the same physical commitment that some of the central characters did. Make sure that you are, in fact, embodying the character, however major or minor the moment, however major or minor the character in that instance. Everybody's major in a 35-minute show, and certainly in this kind of play. But we were delighted that you joined with us so that we could all experience the 39 steps. Thank you.
Thank you. Representing Section 6A, Holly High School. The production, every novel you read in high school in 25 minutes or less. Director, Michaela Ludwig. Assistant Director, Troy Spur.
We have all loved the 15-minute Hamlet, the 10-minute Macbeth, and of course, the complete works of William Shakespeare abridged. This play goes beyond condensing Shakespeare, and in fact attempts to condense together Lord of the Flies, The Scarlet Letter, To Kill a Mockingbird, Moby Dick, Julius Caesar, Of Mice and Men, and Fahrenheit 451. And they do it all in about 25 to 30 minutes. There's a great sense of fun in this production. Even though we're talking about the dreaded summer reading, we have the sense that this ensemble not only understands, but can parody those works that we have all come to identify with high school English and high school literature. Nice staging and nice stage arrangement, and very strong ensemble work with some great energy throughout. The music and the costume pieces, and even some puppets, make the show even more fun. Now, as you continue to hone your skills, watch your articulation, particularly for for, and ya for you, and R for our, and kin for can. I talk about those things so much that people begin to believe that I write them down even before the critique is officially begun. But in this case, they did create a little bit of a distraction. Work also to make sure that the pace never lags. The cues are continually picked up strongly. You do it well, but you've got to keep building that as you go through a comedy parody like this one. And finally, lean into that parody even more. You do a great job of mimicking the literary classics. Don't be afraid to take them on directly. We'll love you for it, and we'll certainly love remembering every novel we read in high school in 25 minutes or less.
Thank you, Mike. Representing Section 7A, Rock Ridge High School. The production, Selkie. Director, Jack Gritzmacher. Assistant Director, Jeremy LaMotta. Mike?
Thank you, Jerry. Selkie, what an interesting play. First of all, built on a mythology and a folklore that, in fact, we just need to know about. For those of you who aren't familiar, the mythical creature, the Selkie, is a seal who lives in the water, but sheds its skin to assume human form. And so not only do we have the mysterious and exciting folklore, but we have it set in Scotland, and we commend you for the incredible challenge of taking on Scottish dialects and, for the most part, achieving them beautifully. You have excellent sets and costumes. I love the use of the fabric to recreate the river, for example, and you have wonderful attention to detail. Even the smallest of costume and prop and set pieces was attended and done well. Your characters, particularly Duncan and Elin, seem wonderfully committed as an exhibition of excellent training. Keep working on finding even more authenticity, the real humans that breathe behind these characters. You might look at creating even more physicality and otherworldliness in the Selkies themselves to contrast them as such unusual characters. And be very, very careful when you have a set that's so defined and so attractive. Be careful that some characters, particularly Duncan, aren't getting upstaged by others as they enter. All that aside, transforming the seals into the lasses of Scotland is not only an amazing feat, but bringing it to us on the high school stage is a wonderful accomplishment by the Rock Ridge Ensemble, who gave us Selkie.
Thank you. Representing Section 8A, Bagley High School, the production, Orphan Trains. The director, Marilyn Hood. Mike?
Orphan Trains, and by the way, for those of you who are not familiar with this particular script, there are quite a number of scripts about this time in history, sometime between the mid-1850s and 1929, when the orphans of New York particularly were sent out to be adopted to a variety of communities and rural areas across the country. This particular script is entitled Orphan Trains, and you should note that it is in fact the Deborah Craig translation or version if you're looking at reading it particularly. It's a very effective script. Resonating with the authentic voices of children, particularly children of hardship, is a great challenge. It's so easy to stereotype them. And I commend this company for, in fact, avoiding that temptation. We believed the children, we believed the ages, and we would have been even more impressed had the pace of the production matched its authenticity. Watch picking up so that you don't lose that trajectory of forward movement as they're going to find their homes and sometimes to return to their beginnings. Keep playing with each character's goals. What is it that the character wants? And in fact, project that as strongly as you can. We were very pleased with the use of tableaus, with the use of freezes. Those devices made the staging even more interesting. The whole performance is awfully far upstage, and maybe that was necessary to get the full width on the film. But in any case, it would be interesting if more of it could be brought even further downstage so that we keep ourselves involved. Finally, the ending is just a little abrupt, but once again, the effect and the sensitivity are strong. The Children's Aid Society of New York is an important part of American history. It's a story that must be told, and we commend Bagley for bringing it not only to us, but reliving it with us in orphan trains.
Thank you. Congratulations to all of the section winners participating in the state festival. And for one of the first times, let's have a round of applause for all 8 schools all around the state of Minnesota. North, south, east, west. Thank you. At this time, we would like to present the Wells Fargo Spotlight on the Arts Awards of Excellence. This awards program recognizes students for outstanding achievement in debate, speech, one-act play, music, and visual arts. It is an example of the commitment of Wells Fargo and the Minnesota State High School League to recognize the many and varied achievements of high school students. Each cast member and crew member of schools earning a starred performance rating will receive the Spotlight on Arts Awards of Excellence. All awards will be mailed directly to your schools. To receive a starred performance, a production must receive at least 2 stars from 3 judges. For those of you interested in the festival for the AA schools earlier, Alexandria, representing 8AA, received a star, and St. Michael, Albertville, from 5AA, received a star. This year, our judges determined that even among these state quality plays, 2 Class A schools stand out for their exceptional quality, and this in no particular order. I like saying that. The first star award goes to section 2A, Belle Plaine High School. The production, the Amish Project Ensemble. Directors, Tony Hartman and Kelly Morrison Fox. More applause, more applause. Congratulations, Belle Plaine. Also receiving a starred performance, section 1A, Fillmore Central High School. The production, Jack in the Box. The director, Jackie Whitaker. I can hear the applause from Maple Grove. Thank you all for attending the virtual awards ceremony. Thank you to the Minnesota State High School League, especially Amy and Amanda, for making the one-act play season and festival happen. Thank you to the directors for boldly and creatively leading the students into uncharted territory. Thank you to the schools and the parents for letting theater education strive in what we hear so often, these challenging times. And especially thank you to the students for being safe, masked, and socially distanced, and for not letting anything diminish your love of theater. Goodbye, and see you next year on stage.
Thank you again. It was a pleasure to be part of this today. Nice job. So,
Thank you for being a part of it.
all my pleasure.
It was fun. I mean, that
Yes.